This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action, and you're listening to the Krypton Report.
So here's a story real quick, everyone. I was having a really bad day at work today. And I decided, you know what? I'm not going to eat my lunch I packed. I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to go to Wendy's and get a kid's meal. Yes, I'm a grown man getting a kid's meal. But it's because they're doing, the DC toys, right? I already had Supergirl because someone gave it to me. And so I pull into Wendy's. There's 3 Wendy's by my work. Okay? I went to one of them. The one I went to, I knew it didn't have Supergirl because the other Wendy's did. So I see the toy, and it says Superman. And I'm like, yes, the world is going to reward me today and cheer me up. In the bottom corner, it says, or could be Bizarro. I was like, oh, okay. So as I open it up, it's Bizarro. And I'm like, oh, man, because as everyone knows, I'm not a huge Bizarro fan because I get tired of Bizarro speak. But then I'm out and about. You can probably hear by the sound. I'm with my girl, Sayla. What? And she's like, Dad, I'm hungry. I'm like, okay. She's like, let's get Wendy's. I said, all right. So I get her a kids meal. And she goes, I'm going to manifest that stuff. And she goes, it's Superman. She pulls it out. Package says Superman. She's like, oh, it's Superman. It's not Bizarro. She's like, it's Superman. She goes, tears it open. She doesn't let me see. Then boom, pulls it out. What is it? Superman. Say it again. Say Superman. So I never, ever should doubt my daughter on anything. Go to Wendy's. Get a DC toy.
Welcome to the Krypton Report. It's May. Woo! It's gonna be May. Or, the whole week that's now Star Wars week from May the 4th be with you to It's Treason 10. I am Tyler, your host, the Superman of Blue, the Man of Tomorrow. And with me is my co-host, James, the Man of Steel, Superman Red, Cole. What's up, James?
What's up? How's it going, Tyler?
It is going. We got lots to talk about. Our last episode, if anyone checked it out, was a epic major episode. It started with James and I covering some things, then some crossover conversation with the Coats and Lunatics, and then an interview with me and my friend Abe from my local movie theater who went to CinemaCon, discussing what he saw from the Warner Brothers panels. And speaking of the Warner Brothers panels, we're just going to jump into some news, man. We got the first Clayface teaser trailer. So it's 1 minute, 3 seconds long. So if you got a chance, everyone jump on YouTube, pull it up. Yep. And we're going to kind of just play it in the background and kind of talk through it. Laura's ready for it. She's ready to go. She's got to wait a few months, but, she's ready. So as James and I do, we're going to 1, 2, 3, play. Ready, James?
I am ready.
1, 2, 3, and play. All right. We have him in the hospital bed, bandaged and bloody, with one eye just peering.
Bloodshot.
And it's flashing to him like at a movie premiere. Face
and
cut.
Then getting his face cut, like a recovery mask of some kind.
Injections and serum. Then his face kind of melting, running in an alley, up his mouth. Look.
Some
fear.
Sort of clay or something.
The face punches some glass. The best.
And I love that silhouette, that shadow shot.
Yes, the best is the silhouette. And then him like wiping his hand across his face and it just kind of shifts. This is Clayface.
October 23rd.
Which is cool and kind of sucky at the same time because it was supposed to come out like right around Batman Day which is right around Brian's birthday. And then they changed it to October.
Yeah, I mean, releasing a Batman Rogues film on Batman Day would, especially because we're not getting the Batman.
Yeah. So would definitely be sweet. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that would be cool. But the trailer looks awesome. I mean, clearly they're going for an actor famous thing. It's an intense and a horror kind of trailer. Clearly he gets, his stories in deep with the mob anyways. So maybe he just can't hold up his end. It's, mutilated before then, and then he gets clayed later. Not sure how they're gonna go with that, but that shadow of him changing his hand into that giant spiked mace is awesome. That's iconic.
That's what makes it really feel Clayfacey.
Yeah. Him laying in that tub, it almost looks like he's laying in clay, like he's almost just like conformed in the tub, and it's just part of him is like sticking out, a likeness. And yeah, when he wipes his face away, that's wild. I mean, it was done so well. Almost felt just wipe his face away.
So I'm writing something here. I think what's interesting is like it looks like it's gonna be a kind of a mixture of the Matt Hagen, because he is Matt Hagen, but Basil Carlo as well storylines. Is what it looks like it's gonna be.
Right. Which I wouldn't be kind of opposed to. Typically, some of the best features have been amalgams. Some of the best comic features have been amalgams of all of those stories, kind of all of those bits over the years, different generations as well. But, taking bits of story that and being able to make it into something blended that works well within the specific universe.
Along with, so we watched the trailer, right? And Solomon goes, "Yeah, I'll wait for streaming." And Celia goes, "I'm in. Let's go."
Nice. Well, the thing. So, did you see James Gunn posted saying that it's?
We're getting there. Because that's what I was sitting there kind of jotting.
Well, my curiosity now becomes: is this the Clayface we see later in Creature Commandos? Then is this the same one?
That is my thought. So, James Gunn came out and said that this film takes place before Superman. Right here, hold on. His official quote was, "Before it's the first DCU film out of chronological order." So I'm sitting here and I made some notes. Does that mean that our kind of our timeline, okay, current DCU timeline, the Suicide Squad, yes, I count it. Come at me. Clayface, or Peacemaker Season 1, Creature Commandos, Peacemaker Season, Superman, then Peacemaker Season 2, Supergirl, Man of Tomorrow. Is that our timeline right now? And where does we have no idea where Lanterns falls yet.
Yeah, we don't know where Lanterns falls. We don't know. So if that takes place first in the timeline, the only stuff before that is like any flashbacks or stuff they tell prior, like.
But as far as like solid major projects, like right now, we don't know where Lanterns falls. But my thought is, like you said, we see Clayface and Creature Commandos. So as of right now, we can kind of consider this the same person. So that's why. And there's like a year or two gap. What is it? How long was he in the hospital from the Suicide Squad till Peacemaker season 1? He says I was in the hospital for, and he gives us a time.
I forget the timeline. I forget the years or the time that he said how many. It's still got to probably be months.
Months to a year or something. So that's why I say Suicide Squad, Clayface, Peacemaker 1, Creature Commandos. Because we know Creature Commandos comes after Peacemaker season 1. Then Superman. Then Peacemaker season 2, which we know Peacemaker season 2 comes right after Superman. Supergirl. And then Man of Tomorrow. So, yeah, that's interesting that our first look at like Batman and his world is coming from Creature Commandos and Clayface. Do you think that we will get any type of Batman tease or Batman's world inside Clayface?
Inside of Clayface. I mean, I wonder, because is all this going to happen in Gotham?
Right.
As it being, the movies and everything, it's not necessary that like LA, Hollywood is the prime place. It can kind of be any big city. They're always shooting something in Metropolis and Gotham, and you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, especially when you're dealing with like Stag and stuff like that. Will it still be Stag Industries? Because it was Stag, right? Or am I thinking Metamorpho?
Dang, you know what? I mean, I know in the animated series it was Daggett.
That's what I was thinking of. Roland Daggett, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if that's always the same across every one. I mean,
because I know they're pulling from that episode.
If they wanted, they could bring over Thorn from the animated series.
Yeah, I know. That
Bane killed Daggett in Dark Knight Rises, right?
Yep. They're pulling from They use the animated series 2-part Clayface as
Feet of Clay.
Yep. As inspiration. So.
Well, it's an amazing inspiration, that's for sure.
So we got that. Let's see. We got the poster, which was like his face like in shadow and his mouth stretched out, and it's like stretching. And so we got that as a teaser poster, and I thought that was cool. I was completely game for that. Let's see. The next biggest thing is, James, as of this recording, we are a week into shooting Man of Tomorrow.
Yes, that's exciting news.
We got our first set photo. It is a shot from James Gunn. From like his angle, and it's from like Lex Luthor's. It's like where he's in prison. It says Van Call Department of Corrections, inmate Luthor A. And there's a box that's hard to see, but it gave us our first look at what the Man of Tomorrow symbol is, and it's basically like the Superman symbol in silver put over top of like the three, what makes the Brainiac symbol. But it's that is our Man of Tomorrow symbol. and it is filming.
That's just exciting. Yeah. I'm so excited for June, and I can't wait until next year. Like it's just good to be a Superman fan right now.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice. The next bit of news is just everyone look out. There's been reported, especially more towards the West Coast, I guess, right now. Walmarts are popping up having um, Supergirl displays, and Levi's Walmart has some stuff. There's been some Walmarts that have really nice designed Supergirl stuff of like the McFarlanes, and it's weird because we haven't seen any other Supergirl toys or merch other than McFarlane's announced. We haven't had we're going into a month away. We haven't had any fast food tie-in announced or anything, so keep in our eyes. It'll probably happen after we record this episode, because that's usually, I feel, what happens.
Oh yeah, you're always like, "Where's this?" And that's when it shows up.
Yep. So I'm just gonna keep complaining so that
Yep.
it does show up.
Complaining into the universe so it manifests.
Exactly. How'd you know, man? How'd you know? The next biggest thing is we got, like, there was an international trailer for Lanterns released, and it was fine. It didn't really have anything new in it, but they did give us a Lanterns poster, right? Kind of like, and it says, "Only one can wear the ring, Lanterns." That doesn't make sense. It says new series in August. And the only thing that I could think of is if part of the story is about a lantern dies and a lantern dies, so there is a ring that chooses John. It's like, is he worthy to wear the ring or something? Like, this isn't Lord of the Rings, okay? But
Yeah.
we already know that there's Hal, there's Guy, and now John. So
Yep.
it's not like there can only be one. This isn't Highlander. So that is definitely kind of a wait, what's going on here kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, only one ring per lantern. Like, obviously, only one person can be the owner of the ring at a time.
Right, but it doesn't say that, and it's just kind of confusing and weird. And I'm like, all right, but yeah, I would like another.
Well, I think they're trying to be
trailer.
overly clever with their marketing because they hate green.
And the international trailer, there was a little bit more of a green glow at the end, so
Mm.
that was nice.
Yeah, I didn't see that they released an international trailer for that.
It was just dropped. You had to Warner Brothers International had it. It wasn't very big, but just the biggest part about it was the poster thingy. So yeah. But all right. That is I think as far as like DC Universe news, I think that's all I have. Other news, we have a list of our favorite toys, McFarlane's. Yay, McFarlane's.
I hardly ever go into a Walmart, so like I haven't seen anything. But I might have to take a step in and see if they have any Supergirl figures in the area.
I went into one, and I still have to do the other because I live in between two different ones. So, but all right, I'm pulling up this list that we got from Levi. That's pretty amazing. All right, here's some upcoming McFarlanes. Ready? The Bat Missile, 89, which is weird because technically it would be returns, but whatever. Redbird and Robin Winter suit. So it has to be some sort of Batman and Robin. The Batman Panther suit. Awesome. The Flash 90 series. Awesome. Wonder Woman Linda Carter. Pretty sweet. Parademon DCEU. Pretty cool. Vigilante Peacemaker. All right. Jim Gordon Dark Knight Deluxe Book Handcuffs and Gun. Catwoman Returns Battle Damage Deluxe, which I need to get some returns. I don't have any. Batman The Batman Deluxe. I don't know. Batman and Robin 2-pack Batman 66. Batman Justice League Gold Label. Poison Ivy Batman and Robin Alternative Suit Gold Label. All right, cool. Bane Batman and Robin. That's awesome. I'm buying that one. Mr. Freeze Batman.
Yeah, I gotta get that one.
So Mr. Freeze Batman and Robin Gold Deluxe figure, which is cool because Mr. Freeze was a Build-A-Figure, and I just have his legs. Because the only Batman and Robin figure I could find was Batman. All the others sold out, which is weird. Batgirl Winter Suit Deluxe. The Penguin HBO The Penguin Deluxe. Okay. Batman Returns Unmasked Deluxe. Okay. Clark Kent 79 opening shirt. Intriguing. So, out of all these right off the bat, the ones that I'm most interested are Mr. Freeze, the Clark Kent. Definitely
Shirt rip, Bane.
Yeah, Bane. I need the Panther suit, and I need the Flash 90 series. So I am in. You know what I'm saying? Like, bring on.
As long as they got a Flash 90 series and a John Wesley Shipp Jay Garrick, it's all good.
I mean, come on. You know, why do we not have these yet? Why is it taking them so long? But now we're going to jump into Spider-Man and Superman. Or is it Superman and Spider-Man? It depends. So, James, Mr. Cole, sir, give us your thoughts on the Superman Spider-Man, the one printed by DC. Go.
So the one printed by DC is really good. I actually love them both a lot, but I think the one with DC might have two of the weakest stories out of the entirety of both issues.
I mean, that makes sense. But I feel like there was some interesting, but continue.
Well, I mean I know why we got Power Girl and the Punisher. But that was
that's weak.
Yeah. And it was sad to see Jimmy Olsen get killed by Carnage.
That was messed up, man. That
Right.
was seriously messed up.
You know, the Superboy Prime and Amazing Spider-Man one was I say kind of one of the weak here. Just because it was just a meta universe hopping story that they just went in between all the stories, and
It could have been better.
that's it. Nothing happened.
It could have been better.
Yeah. But the way that they blended the Marvel and the DC universes was really cool.
You just got to kind of accept that there's an Earth out there that is the Marvel DC Earth.
Yeah, and this one actually kind of works in that respect. Both of these crossover issues, you know, the way that they have a lot of different people in here, you know, a team up of Brainiac and Doc Ock, and Doc Ock has some kryptonite arms, kryptonite tentacles, and you got him versus Superman and Spider-Man versus Brainiac.
So what are your thoughts on the main story?
So wait, the first one?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of fun that they know that each other is Spider-Man and Superman.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of just drop you in. You know, like I said, I like the interesting team up of Ock and Brainiac. And Doc Ock wanting to or studying the kryptonite the way he is.
Like, I like this story, and we'll talk about a little bit more here in a minute when we get into the other one too. But I still feel like there's a really good story that really hasn't been told. Like, I was a little I don't want to say upset, but just kind of bummed when I saw that it was like one main story with a bunch of small backups, because I would have liked the whole book to be the story kind of thing, based on these previous ones that we had before, where it was like this giant story for the crossover.
Okay, you mean like the ones that came out a long time ago?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Where like they use the entire book to tell the story.
Okay.
Here, like, we have this small story where it's like, I want to know more about the interactions between more of these characters and what that looks like.
Right. I mean, they do a full issue's worth of the main story in the beginning of both of these. As a page count, it is a large crossover issue.
Mm-hmm.
But then, yeah, they do have all of the anthologies, kind of the universes crossing over in different ways. You know, different characters. The next story being Lois Lane and Mary Jane. The
Yeah.
story being told from the wives' point of views.
How did you
But
feel about that one?
well, I mean, I didn't mind it really, and mainly because in one point here they're fighting Sentinel. They're fighting a Sentinel, and the reason the Sentinel's there is because Gambit's there as well.
Yeah. I was just kind of like, yeah.
Well, I mean, like you said, if you're just taking this there's a world where they all cross over, then Sentinels are coming after mutants and causing all kinds of collateral damage. At some point, Superman and Spider-Man are going to be there, and it's
just
kind
like
of just
it starts opening up so much more questions of like, oh, this is an ongoing full Marvel universe and a full DC universe, and why, like, you're telling me that Superman can't stop a Sentinel?
right. He just
Like,
flies through the head, no matter how much of an indestructible model it is.
right. And I'm like, so what are you're telling me about my boy Superman here? That a Sentinel's got him. Okay, now we're gonna have issues. Um, and then Gambit, I felt like, okay, it was all right. But I really liked the first story. The other ones were okay.
Yeah, like I say, you got Superboy Prime, and he wants to be with Black Suit Spider-Man. So that's kind of what he he literally goes into his closet because he's meta and has him pull up and swing around in the black suit. And then they go against the High Evolutionary for some reason
Yeah,
in a Phantom Zone comic book in between the worlds world.
yeah.
Um, right. Superman and Superboy and Spider-Man 2099 in a Batman Beyond future was a wild idea. Seeing Spider-Man 2099 go after or web up Superboy and everything, and then Batman Beyond shows up, but we get Doom 2099 and a Lex Luthor merged with real docs from the 30th century, and that's where Superboy is from during his Legion time. So that's a really wild concept, pulling all those things together. And like we said, Jimmy Con Carnage. I can't believe that they just did a story where they freaking killed Jimmy.
Right. So
I like the Jonathan Kent and Ben Parker.
That one I like, and I would love to see more of that. Like it was like the story you didn't really know you needed, but it was nice to have.
It is, and it's funny because there's actually another story. I think it might even be in the other issue that kind of backs it up, where they said Ben would, or you'd like Ben, or you and Ben would get along, or something.
Yeah,
and it kind of just called back to the story that they put in there. So what'd you think about Bias, Lois Lane having a debate with J. Jonah Jameson?
Oh, that's great. Anytime someone can put J. Jonah in their own place, I'm completely in for that.
Right. So I do like the end where his fact is, as long as they hide themselves, their motives will always be suspect. Take that nut job vigilante you've got in Gotham, for instance. Wouldn't trust him for an instant. So we're judging people on how they look and not what they do.
Yep. And the whole point of like the whole mask and the vigilante is for protection. But that was the DC one. Now Marvel released theirs. But before we do that real quick, I have to ask everyone online to chime in. We have the basic cover, which is by Jorge Jimenez for Superman, Spider-Man, and then Dan Mora did a variant for the second printing. Now, Dan Mora's second printing cover looks like it's kind of in the same style. Like it's like he's doing his version of that cover.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Dan Mora's art. And I ask everyone what their thoughts are, which one they prefer. And Jania, I think, hit the nail on the head with it. Because she says the Jorge Jimenez just looks more uplifting. It's lighthearted. The characters look fun. And I think that kind of represents his art too, is even when he draws like Batman and some serious stuff, like it still has a nice uplifting side to it. You know?
Right.
So,
I know you had sent them before. I think to our
because like I am a big like I really love Dan Mora's stuff. And so when they
Dan Mora is a great artist. But I mean, so is Jorge Jimenez.
Exactly. And that's when I was like, and I was like, Jania, this is difficult. What do I do? And she goes, and she just listening. She goes, the Jimenez. She's like, because it looks more uplifting, the type of that these characters would have. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Fair enough. All right. I'm not going to argue with that. So, but I want to hear what everyone else thinks. You know, what are their feelings towards the two covers.
They're both so good. You can't go wrong with either.
Right. So here comes the next one. Is we now jump a month to, if you hear my daughter singing in the background, she is like upstairs in the other room and is extremely loud singing, but she's having fun, so I'm not going to tell her to stop because that's the lightheartedness that I love, and I need more of that in my life and for her. But now it is it's Spider-Man Superman, all right, and it's the Marvel putting out the book, which I was like, oh, that's cool, because I didn't realize they were doing two different books. It's very easy to get confused between the flipping of the titles. But what's interesting, okay, is when we get to this book, how many people on this book are like known DC writers? I mean, I know that everyone kind of writes for both, but when I'm looking at the people like who are writing these stories, I'm like, whoa. So we'll start here, okay? The first one is called Our Kryptonite. It's the main one by Brad Meltzer. And you know, when I think of Brad Meltzer, I think of all his like small books that he's done. But then I think about, you know, he did Identity Crisis and stuff. But what did you think about this story?
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, they just drop us right in with them trapped inside someplace that's trying to crush them, and Superman's being weakened by kryptonite, so he can't help out. So it's all Spider-Man, and slowly the weight is crushing down on them, and then because of his weakened state, the Venom symbiote takes over Spider-Man or Superman.
I like how we get the pumpkin bombs that have kryptonite, and I'm a little upset. How is Superman not seen of, or at least know, Star Wars? That's just bad writing.
Yeah, I think that would be bad writing.
That's not even like a deep cut. It's not even a new story. It's the original A New Hope Star Wars.
Yeah, he's absolutely at least seen that. But Superman or Spider-Man gets the kryptonite pumpkin bomb off of him, which allows Superman to fight back against the symbiote.
Which is
I do like how they needed to weaken him for the symbiote to be able to even have a chance to attach to him.
I just kind of wish like some of this, because like the pumpkin bomb you see is kind of opening, and the next thing you know, when it explodes, there's the symbiote, which I thought was awesome, because that shot of the Superman in the Venom symbiote, he even has like a cape, is awesome.
Yeah, I like the design. The splash page I really thought was pretty cool, because they've got Craven and Deathstroke and Taskmaster, Brainiac and
Doc
Octopus, Doc Ock and Electro,
Amazo.
Parasite, Doomsday, Amazo, Rhino,
and
Goblin, and Luthor all back there.
I'm just kind of like, oh crap, you know. But this is like a story. I'm just like, wow, this is awesome, you know. And I like Superman
and his thunderclap, which just like explodes the symbiote away from him.
Yes, and I mean, I guess this makes sense because Marvel's doing a lot of stuff with the symbiote right now. I haven't been following Marvel books, but just like looking at their covers. But him using like his heat vision to blast open a little bit, and then like you said, the thunderclap, and then they take out Goblin and Luthor, and then like it goes 3 weeks later. And I think it's interesting how they draw Clark to be this like old school three-piece suit and a hat Clark Kent, Like, this is your George Reeve, Christopher Reeve, Clark Kent right here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about why he does it. It's a follow up from when they were in the cave, and it's Ben Parker. And he said, and Peter says, "Thanks, nice of you, Mr. Kent." He says, "Please, Clark." Um, and then he talks about how Superman, Clark carries like two pieces of glasses with him in his cape. One's a pair of Paul's glasses, and one's like his reading glasses.
Yeah, it was really nice because Peter says what he does. He does what he does because of guilt, because of what he didn't do, and then his uncle was killed. But Clark tells him that he does what he does because it's the right thing, and it's what it's what his uncle and aunt taught him to do. Kind of, he does it more out of respect because it's the right thing to do, and it's how he was raised, as opposed to the guilt.
Mm. And then they invite Aunt May and Peter over for pie. And it says that evening, and it shows them like at the farm. And I guess this goes back to where I'm thinking like this has to be like all these are like an alternate Earth, but an alternate time. Like back, was it the? I don't think it was the Silver Age when Smallville might have been real like ups. Maybe it was the Silver Age in like New York, like upstate New York area, when Metropolis was more like a New York kind of place or something, because it's not, obviously it can't be in Kansas,
Not for Ben and May to get there that evening.
Exactly.
Maybe if it was the other way around.
So it just I like these stories, but at the same time I'm just kind of like, for me, I want to know a little bit more, like when and where, like what's the history, because they're just dropping us into these stories that to me would be a really awesome, like I would love to see a more longer done actual like couple issue arc of Superman and the symbiote,
Yeah. Well, it would definitely be worth it to have some of these stories explored more, and the way that at least DC has begun writing the last few years, it's kind of like every story somewhere has happened, and it can be pulled into the continuity some way or another.
Yes, that whole omniverse thing that we discussed.
Yeah.
And then this is what
So
you're talking about before. It says, "Ben, he looks like a good man. We'd be friends."
yeah, and I think and because that story was before Clark arrived and before Peter was even born.
Right, exactly. And I mean, I'd watch a whole story, I'd read a whole story about that. And then we have a really nice thing here at the bottom. It says, "For Jerry, Joe, Steve, and Stan, who still teach us how to put good in the world."
That's a nice ending.
Yes, it is.
This next story is, what's that?
No, I was just gonna run down real quick. Like we're talking about the writers, okay?
Oh, okay.
So we have Superman. What do you call it? Superman Noir and Superman Metropolis.
Spider-Man Noir.
Yes, but I said Superman Noir. That would be pretty damn sweet. Speaking of,
I mean, that's Golden Age Superman.
But I mean, like the whole black with the black and white and everything.
Oh, right.
Have you watched the new trailer for Spider-Man Noir?
No, not a new one.
They put one out yesterday or 2 days ago, and it's like a minute and a half, and I showed it. And of course, we have to watch both versions to just kind of get our vibe. Solomon's all about watching in black and white. Sailor wants to watch in color. So, But Spider-Man Noir and Superman, written by Dan Slott. Sweethearts, starring Gwen Stacy and Lana Lang, written by Joe Kelly. This is the one that got me, and I love this one, and we'll talk about it more. Mysterio vs. Superman, featuring The Thing and more, written by Jeff Johns and art by Gary Frank. Ghosting, Louise Simonson, Hobgoblin versus Steel. That was a nice. Then Ghost Spider and Supergirl by Stephanie Phillips. Miles Morales Spider-Man and Superman, which the one thing written by Brian Michael Bendis.
And it's funny, it's the only friggin' story in all of them where Superman is not wearing the trunks. In
Yeah.
every story within both of these books, it's the only one where Superman is not wearing the trunks, and it's Brian Michael Bendis.
Symbiotes in Metropolis by Jason Aaron, who right now we're talking about as being the writer of Absolute Superman. And then Spider-Man and Superman, One of Those Days by Jeff Loeb. And I mean, I know Jeff Loeb's written for both, but come on, he always has my DC heart, right? So that's like
Right.
some big name writers that I know that have strong DC stories. But so we'll go back and we'll start and we'll talk about each individual story. But all right, what did you think of good old Spider-Man Noir and Superman? Like Golden Age. It's like Fleischer Superman. Not even Golden Age, like Fleischer Superman.
Yeah. I mean, it's Golden Age, it's Fleischer, it's kind of, a little bit of mix of both. He appears to be jumping more, really, when it comes to Superman. No, not the flight. But yeah, I mean, we get Spider Noir trying to kill Lex Luthor, Justice. But
as you would.
Right. And Superman can't hit Spider-Man, but Spider-Man webs him up, but that doesn't hold him. But he takes Luthor, needs him alive, so that way he can, confess at the governor's office to save a man's life, which is like the first Golden Age story for Superman, is to get a guy off a death row. But we've got the Daily Planet scooping the Daily Bugle. Jonah Jameson's pretty upset. It's funny because he's the one who was being charged. A newspaper publisher cleared of all charges of being, quote, the big man. It says, "How is my story on the front page of the Planet and not the Bugle? You should have let them fry me."
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny that it gets scooped. And then we've got a very Tim Sale looking Clark, and sitting there with Peter, who's Spider-Man Noir. But I do like how he says that he's probably, because his confession was under duress, like, yeah, it gets Jameson off because cast doubt on it, but also Luthor's back on the streets, of course.
We got that awesome shot of Superman, like you said, jumping out the window. That's kind of a recreation of a famous Spider-Man shot where he's got the criminal under his arm and everything.
Okay. Yeah.
So I enjoyed this one.
Me too.
Even though J. Jonah Jameson looks like Charlie Chaplin and Hitler in one panel. Towards the very end, like the
on the newspaper
when he's over top of Clark's shoulder.
Gotcha.
And the newspaper, yeah. The Sweethearts with Lana and Gwen was interesting because it's kind of, I think it's just one of those stories I feel like you could do more with. It's so short because if you had an understanding of like where your history and continuity really is, you have kind of their first kind of loves right here. And we know what's going to happen to Gwen, and we know Lana and Clark history, but we see Superman and Spider-Man at an amusement park. And we see Sandman at a roller coaster. And Superman saving some people on a roller coaster. And then there's Spider-Man stopping classic Metallo. And then Clark and Peter both show up at the end late, catching up with the girls. And I mean, it's a good, cute little story, but I guess I guess
with
sometimes for
their
me,
poor excuses, which they both said they both have, which was hilarious.
yeah, it's just like sometimes that's like, oh, that's cool, but sometimes I like the weight of knowing like the history and who, and this is like she talks about knowing Peter for a while, and whereas I'm looking for the exact phrase, like I've known Clark since we were kids. Where is it? Okay, here it is. I've known him since we were kids. We just met freshman year, but it feels longer. An orphan. I don't know if that makes a difference. So is Peter. He was raised by his aunt and uncle. She's the best. Clark has adoptive parents. Good people. Like, it's cool showing their parallels, but like, this is them young, and it would be really neat. But the next one, I think, is my favorite. Um, and it, once again, Jeff Johns is a very good writer. And I saw a panel from this without realizing it the other day, and I sent it to Brian. And I didn't know where it was from. He's like, "Where's that from?" I said, "I don't know. I found it on a Superman website, and it's the one where Superman's holding the Hulk." And that made the story for me. But the whole point of this story is basically the DC and the Marvel universes are fighting. The sun, the fuse was lit when the sun flashed red for a heartbeat. And let's see, Mysterio was pulling strings way above his pay grade, courtesy of a Saturn queen from the future and her shiny little gift, a rage-powered red lantern. So right there, we have layered this story. We have a red lantern, an evil futuristic Saturn queen.
Mm-hmm.
The Hulk is full of rage, but he's not, he doesn't have a red ring. We have so many DC and Marvel characters showing up. We have the Lizard fighting Eclipso. This whole thing's narrated by the Thing, Cloak and Dagger, Spider Woman, Spider Man, the Legion,
Superboy and the Blob.
Yeah. And then we see She-Hulk, Green Lantern, Stargirl, Captain America. We have Hal Jordan kind of like, hit on
On
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have Stargirl and Captain America both like bonding over stars.
Yeah, over Pat Dugan, which was really cool. I love that easy crossover.
Yeah.
Some
Symbols.
Justice Society back during World War II. Yeah, that was really cool.
And then we have this where it says, Superman said there was only one play left, the move nobody had the guts to even try. Calm the Hulk down. In a world dead set on staying outraged forever, and we have the Hulk like, Hulk smash, and he, backslaps Superman. And then Ben Grimm jumps on his back and is like, it's clobbering time. And then this is the panel, this is the page I sent Brian. It says, she okay? Always.
She breathed in some coffee. I was trying to get my mouse to move.
No, she's good. Always care for the children first. It's a rule of life.
Oh no, that was Jamie.
Oh, Jamie. Nah, we care for Jamie. But it says, but Superman didn't swing back. Instead, he talked to him. It was the first time I ever saw the Hulk listen and feel something besides anger. But it didn't happen right away. But the big lug started to slow, started to think. Pretty sure he even cried. And then Hulk was gone. Just Banner there, shaking like the rest of humanity. And Superman says, you're safe, Bruce. The heat and pressure bled out of the world, and so did the fighting. We stopped Mysterio and his new girlfriend and mopped up the villains who wouldn't let it go. Then it ended as if it had started. Uh, so
Um,
and then
yeah, I mean, not only is the story really, really well layered with the characters, the amount of people, the amount of history put in just in a few panels. Um, it's got this strong hearted Superman. I mean, we just covered that same strong-hearted Superman in Absolute Superman
yeah,
when he connected to everybody inside Parasite.
and even though this technically isn't a Spider-Man and Superman story, it's my favorite just because of like Superman calming the Hulk. But all right, the next one is ghosting the
So
Steel.
the first panels actually I saw out of this story, I didn't see the calming Hulk ones. I saw the next page where Superman says, "Anger's easy, listening's hard. Face to face still matters. Real people, real conversation. It's not always clobbering time, Ben."
And Ben's like, dang it.
Yeah, and he takes that and goes has donuts with Banner.
Yes, he does. And
Now
that's
ghosting. Take it away, Tyler.
I was like, this one was fine. It was just kind of interesting. It felt very like 90s to me, just for the sheer point of like Steel coming out in the 90s being a big deal, but then knowing the Hobgoblin because of the 90s cartoon. Um, but I like the Hobgoblin. He does a really cool thing in this where uh, he takes his steel dust and turns it into like he's like, I'm rebranding it as ghosting. I hear it repels light, shields me from cameras, from tracking devices, and hides me from you, all while evading the force of your hammer. So then there's the Hobgoblin, and then all of a sudden another hammer hits him, and it's Thor's hammer, and Thor and Steel take him down. And I was just kind of like, okay, like it just felt very out of nowhere that Thor shows up, and that's like another of those. We're continuing just to make this a DC Marvel and not really Spider-Man and Superman.
Yeah, but it was a planned experiment. Like they
No, go ahead.
but I did really like the idea of, and like you said, out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming, but I love the idea of pairing the hammers together like that.
Yep. You're just kind of like, oh wow, um, nice. You know, the next one, the Remarkable with Ghost Spider and Supergirl. I didn't hate it, but I felt like it could have been better. Like all the ingredients were there, but it just didn't really work for me.
Supergirl and Ghost Spider.
Yeah.
I mean, they were both written like very angsty towards one another. I did like the end. I think the end was the ultimate payoff. You know, I like her, and to the one of the 5 million super or spider powered heroes.
Yeah. That's why I was like, um, but yeah, it just they both felt angsty and like almost against each other. But yeah, I don't know. It just something was off for me of them taking on Livewire, which I thought was cool. That was cool, Livewire. Um, but yeah, and then the one thing by Brian Michael Bendis was Miles Morales Spider Man. How are you not going to use John Kent? How are you not going to use your adult John Kent that you made? Um,
Right.
um,
That is missing.
you know, and I'm like, um, and it's like the reborn suit, which you erased because of you wanting the trunks back and stuff. Um,
So
so
is he trying to just do everything before his DC stuff so that it's like, no, that's not here.
I don't know. It's because I think it just means more to me if you did this, because Miles Morales right now is Spider-Man also, and right now John Kent, as of this recording, because we haven't dove into the books, is still Superman
Yeah.
also. I think there's more symmetry there in a story, and more of those characters relate better for what this quick story is. And just another like, oh, Superman's hurt by kryptonite, and Spider-Man has to pull it out. But
Yeah, I mean it's Brainiac again. It's kind of like magic and kryptonite. Uh it's a little bit redundant with some of the previous stories. I mean, the beginning of the first one, and
yeah,
weakened by kryptonite is the first story in this one. And there is no, it's just Dormammu and Brainiac versus Miles and Superman, and it's the end. There is no story. There is no story beyond that.
so it's like it doesn't really have an. It's like a tease for a book that's not coming.
Right.
Um,
Um,
the
I did really like this story, The
Take it away.
Wondrous and the Worthy.
Take it away.
So it's the realm of Midgard, city of Metropolis. Immortal Asgard has fallen, lain waste by the dread forces of apocalypse. Um, says it is said that Odin, the greatest of the gods, has been crucified to the source wall. His son Thor has been shattered and unworthy by a mere whisper from his grim new Allfather. So kind of like Darkseid is the new Allfather. Um, guess he decided to take the Odin Force for himself, but the point of the story is Mjolnir calling to the mighty Thor, Jane Foster. Um, so she's Thor fighting off these venomized parademons, paravenoms. Yeah, that's what they called them. But Wonder Woman shows up, kind of lassos her. She says, "You're not the Thor that she knows." But she kind of sees who she is with the lasso and everything. She knows she's Jane Foster. Um, they fight against the parademons. I like how she uses her bracers to use the sonics to weaken the. I love how she calls them the Clintar remains.
Mm-hmm.
That's the stories related to the King in Black and Null's creation.
Yep.
And his creation of the symbiotes and everything. I know that's pretty new in Marvel, but it's pretty big these days.
I mean, the book teases a Hela and Null story coming up soon.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, like one of the ads in it is right after the main story. There's a ad. Hold on, where is it? It's in here somewhere.
I'll have to flip back through. But she talks about like the worthiness of Wonder Woman and the Amazons, but then shows Jane Foster, dying from cancer, and she's holding it. She's worthy, and she should be where she is. And I love how her and the DC universe and Marvel characters are fighting Darkseid. This all black anti-life blade.
Yeah, and this is another one of those like this is a story set up for something we're never going to get. Like, that's like a crisis level event. DC would run with that. That'd be a whole year of publishing right there.
Right.
And it's neat because like this doesn't even really have you know, Superman and Spider-Man. It's basically Wonder Woman and it's two Marvel character. It's Marvel and DC crossover. It's not even. But at the same time, I don't really care. Because I'm enjoying it. But it's like you could have done a whole like book collection of just these type of short stories of just different Marvel and DC characters.
Oh yeah, you have
And then,
Darkseid go to take over, and he takes over the entirety of Asgard and the Odin Force. I mean, and Darkseid is not the one to do that and then go after the entire universe right away. Like he's gonna build up power. It's gonna be like you said, they're gonna run a year with it.
yeah. One of Those Days by Jeff Loeb. New York City, pre-dawn. Spider-Man sitting on like an edge. It looks like a bridge, but I couldn't tell for sure.
So yeah, this is just 2 pages. It seems to take place right after Gwen Stacy died, I believe.
Yeah, because he says she died because I was Spider-Man, and he says it's hard to be a hero, Peter, really hard. And yes, sometimes innocent people get hurt. What I've learned in life is that there is no right way to grieve. No grief I can't talk. Competition. You don't get a gold medal for best grief. He's like, was that a joke? Because I really don't.
I usually do the jokes
around here. So he says, you'll have good days, you'll have really bad days. About losing your friends, some days you'll still feel better. Better is good. We like better. And he says, we do like better. He says, take care. He's like, wow, that flying thing he does is so cool. And they even draw Spider-Man very much like, it reminds me more of original Ditko Spider-Man.
Yeah, I would agree.
Just the way the webbing is, and his mask, and the spider symbol on his chest. But all in all, for me, I liked them. I would have liked a better story that was kind of like a two-parter. Part one was in one book, and then you had to get the second part for. Or if they had done these kind of in the same vein when they did the Superman blue and red and the Wonder Woman black and gold, or the Harley Quinn red and black, made them thicker and bigger books like that or something. But because I like, if I had to pick a favorite, it's going to be the Jeff Johns story and then the Mark Waid story from the other book. Those are my two favorites. The R Kryptonite I feel like is okay, but some of the story beats just feels redundant. Yes, the whole Venom thing, the whole Superman with the symbiote is pretty awesome, but to me that I would like a more than just one book with that story. Because of how they set this up where we see that splash page of Superman in the symbiote with all the other villains and stuff. That's like teasing a bigger story. And Luthor and the Goblin together, and Luthor, like Goblin's wearing like Goblin armor that looks a lot like Lex Luthor's power suit. So I mean, a lot of these stories just feel like really great small snippets of much larger stories. It's that they had these like, okay, this is my arc, this is my story. Okay, now whittle it down to 8 pages.
Some not even that long.
Right. And I just like, as much as I dig this story, I just feel like I would have liked to have had a really good strong Spider-Man and Superman story. And one part, like part one I read in the DC one, and then it leaves me hanging, and then I pick it up in part two, which is the Marvel book. And then you have all these backup stories.
Yeah. I mean, that's more or less kind of how I feel in that regard. Like, I think that the main story should have been like a part one, part two, across both books. I think that would have been better. You know, just one story, two issues for Superman and Spider Man. Um, and
Yeah,
then the rest of the anthology stuff I was fine with. I think more of that stuff is a little stronger than the main issues at the beginning of the book.
right. And um, and I feel like there's a lot in the story, almost as if Brad Meltzer had more. Because in one way, I feel like you could have just had this open up with Spider-Man and Superman getting hit by a pumpkin bomb with kryptonite that had the symbiote in it, and that's where the story started. Or like the opening page could have been the symbiote of Superman attacking, and then like you kind of have a panel that shows what happened before. I feel like you waste a lot of time with this whole kryptonite them talking, because I feel like we're getting dropped into a story we didn't read that just feels like it's the same thing we've already read over and over. Um, but I don't know if there's callbacks, so I'm not missing here because I still haven't read the Spider-Man and Superman from the '80s one. Uh,
Gotcha.
the
Well, I feel like
the
the 80s is before Venom, so
Yeah, and that one's got Doctor Doom in it, which feels like a much cooler like than Doc Ock. But yeah, but I enjoy these. I'm not against them. That was fun. I really like seeing Spider-Man and Superman together. I feel like there's a lot more to mine, and there's probably better, not better, but there's more stories out there in this format that would really work. And I would love to see them do this again.
well, yeah, there's all kinds of characters that they didn't use too, you know. Uh no Connor, no John, no um
Yeah, I think there's enough Spider-Man.
Valzad, no, and then yeah, Spider-Man characters. There's plenty of other ones there.
There's enough Spider Family and Super Family to really make good stories about that parallel each other.
I mean, you could do a Scarlet Spider story, you know, Ben Riley
Connor,
or
yeah,
and
no,
Connor
straight up,
story.
yeah.
Yeah,
See, and that's what I'm talking about. Like feeling like they could have done a little bit more, and I would
and
have liked.
Spider-Man has multiverse universe hopping stories. I mean,
And
there's
that's why the Superboy Prime one was cool.
yeah, there's Superboy Prime and even Val Zod in that with different universes. Like he could have been anybody.
But all right, it's the first of the month, so we always dive into Supergirl stories. So what we're going to dive into now is we're going to talk the new 52 Supergirl. And
Kind of as a whole.
yeah, as a whole. And I'll tell you as we discuss this concept and everything, but just a kind of a brief summary here. The New 52 in September of 2011, DC Comics began the New 52, a continuity reboot in which it canceled all of its monthly superhero titles and relaunched 52 new ones. One of the new titles was Supergirl series, which technically falls under Volume 6. That features a new origin for Kara and was published between 2011 and 2015. Artist Mohammed Astar designed a new costume for the character more closely resembling Superman's costume as opposed to her classic cheerleader suit, a change which generated criticism for some readers. Okay, that's kind of just a brief there. So let's get into the New 52 Supergirl. And the reason why we're kind of talking about this in general is because James and I have covered pockets of this story over the years. Um, we did the first volume a few years back to kind of just see where the character had been. We've touched on her in what I think is her third volume, which is The Hell on Earth. When we did that story, she's also part of the Super Doomed, which we covered before. And we'll start here with some positives. One thing I will say about the New 52 Supergirl is they did do something that I've been complaining about for a while. is they did try to make the Kryptonian symbol her own. They did try to give her more of a unique S, so to speak, that's for Supergirl and not just Superman's. So I do respect that with the character. I do respect what they tried to do with the shield. Um, so that it's not just the same as Superman's, it's got its own identity. I do like the way the cape is, the way it wraps around and kind of almost attaches like a collar itself, and it has a
Mm-hmm.
yellow outlining. So I do like that because once again, it gives her a little bit of a difference from her cousin. And I like her suit from the waist up
Right.
because basically the rest of her suit is like she's wearing it's like a one piece bathing suit, swimsuit, and um it's
Yeah.
kind of
And
it's
why is the red just like an underwear
right.
piece?
It's like the red isn't a trunk, it's the bottom part which draws your eyes to her crotch. Um it's like a swimsuit, but it's weird because it's a one piece swimsuit with sleeves, bodysuit, and they've talked before like oh, where did I hear them talking about Supergirl that they felt like the old Supergirl, she wore a bodysuit, then a skirt over top of it in some of her previous stuff. And now it's like they've done the same thing but removed the skirt. And then they give her these really weird boots that have like an extra layer of strap that goes above the knee. And I'm
Yeah,
really,
a knee window or something.
yeah, like I'm really okay if they just would have given her full on pants.
Honestly, I would have been too. I would have preferred them giving her something unique, something more like Smallville season 11 Supergirl.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I like I like this the like you said, like the collar, the way the cape, um, the way it connects, the way it looks. But in that one, she didn't quite have a cape. It was almost like a train or a tail off of her pants, kind of off of her waist bit
Mm-hmm.
in Smallville season 11. Uh, yeah, I don't. People talked about the 2000s where she was all leg and all midriff with a mini skirt,
Yeah.
and I don't get I don't get how this is or what this is supposed to be or an improvement off of the cheerleader look to this
Yeah.
one piece bodysuit that's only half of a bodysuit.
Yeah. Exactly. And it looks like a very awkward, unbalanced outfit. Like she forgot something. But like I said, but my positives with the suit was the way they did the symbol, trying to give her her own little bit of originality in the symbol. And I pulled up here, yeah, the Smallville season 11, which I have all those stories. Her suit looks really good. I need to see.
Yeah, it might be one of the best suits for Supergirl in my opinion.
So, we'll probably cover those books one day. I mean, we will. Just when? That's the question. But as far as the new 52, we also talked about the Reign and the World Killers when Supergirl season 3 came out because that was a big part of that whole story. Um, but the issues ran. What's interesting is they ran from issue 1 plus a 0 issue to issue 46. And they stopped at issue 46, which is interesting because all the other books that were ongoing running at this time ended at 52 before Rebirth. And I feel like Supergirl was stopped prematurely because where this story ends doesn't really get picked up, and then Rebirth happens and it's different. And so her story kind of just gets lost. But some things to point out here. This poor Supergirl is like, she never fits in. She never builds a relationship with her cousin. She's always getting hit and hammered down. She never gets the Kara Kent, the Linda Danvers, the Linda Lee. She never gets that type of a life. For a short period of time, they do a story arc. And I went through, like, I think I counted 5 different writers during that run. And the closest they get is they give her a friendship with Siobhan Smythe, otherwise known as the Silver Banshee. And that's the closest she gets of making any kind of earthbound connections. Other than that, she is constantly, like, beat down by everything. From how she was hurt by Hallel, how she's kind of rejected by her cousin. She doesn't really fit in with anyone. And then we get a whole story where Power Girl, once again, this whole conundrum of we're having Power Girl and Supergirl exist at the same time in the New 52. And this Power Girl got a good story from Earth 2. But she saves Kara and takes her to Sanctuary. And then Sanctuary recognizes Power Girl as the real Kara and tries to kill the other Kara. And they never say what their age difference is, but there is an age difference. Because one's a little older, because Power Girl goes from having her full bodysuit to then basically having the same costume as Supergirl, but it's a white. Now it's a white swimsuit. What do you call it? And with blue boots. And here, I'm pulling it up right now. She got her window back, but she got blue boots, a white one-body swimsuit, same style with the whole sleeves and everything, which is more traditional Power Girl. But I like when they give her a little bit more of a costume than just, swimming attire. And then they have a whole thing where she's like, you're a little too old to be wearing that. And they don't do a good job of giving Kara, like, how she's supposed to be a teenager, but sometimes she's played older, but she never really does anything teen related. She's more like young adult, because she never connects into any type of environment that really has her teen history. We do get the horrible story that, brings her down even more, of about her dad, Zor-El, being the cyborg Superman. That whereas he wanted Jor-El, but couldn't get Jor-El, so he made Zor-El into the cyborg Superman. So that poor storyline there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a twisted version of cyborg Superman,
So I'm just saying, like, this poor, character version is just constantly beat down and dragged through the mud.
Right, over and over again. And then she gets a Red Lantern ring.
And then, she becomes a Red Lantern because of all the anger and rage inside of her. And they just make her even more angsty than any other character. And she does remove the Red Lantern ring on her own, which should have killed her, but it doesn't 'cause she's able to remove it, and then the sun heals her. So that shows like her strength. Um, did you? Then she has a whole issue where she fights Lobo, but it's the New
Yeah.
52 Lobo, and the New 52 Lobo is weird.
Yeah, he's like a CW Lobo.
Yeah, because the New 52 Lobo starts off where this guy shows up and kills the Lobo that we know, and we find out that this like skinny bounty hunter, really nice looking, kind of Zarnian dude is the real Lobo, and the Lobo that we've known has been using his name, which I think works better if you reverse that. If
I
you
think they
take
kind
out-
of did do that. I think they kind of did reverse it.
they eventually did. I think it's kind
I
of
think in the same kind of way.
I read a good chunk just out of curiosity of the New 52 Lobo, and it's a cool story if you take it out and it's not Lobo. Like if you made it just a new character and you weren't trying to replace the old Lobo with this new one, it's a neat story. But this New 52 Lobo is horrible. So there's like a 2-issue of Supergirl with him. The run ends where she's on Crucible, which is a very interesting. She goes to like this space college, and she befriends Maxima, and they save the school and all this. But then at the very end, after all this, she comes back to Earth. She's talking about feeling recharged from the sun, and she's feeling good about life. And the last panel of the story is she like cuts her finger and she's bleeding. And she's like, "What?" And that's where the book ends, and that's where the run ends. Where she is depowered, and that's it. And then you're like, "What?" And I started digging into if like I don't remember her in the Death of Superman or the New 52 or any other type of build up for what gets launched into being Rebirth. But
Yeah. She's got a little bit of a Future's End storyline there where she even becomes a cyborg Supergirl.
and it was good, but I feel like it was probably the weakest whole collective of the character because they really never let her step into her own. They just kept finding ways to bring her down and make her angrier.
Yeah, one of the things they did with this book was, I mean, it was weird having it like ongoing, but one of the things they did with it being ongoing is it was weaved into the Superman events, that took place throughout. Hell on Earth, Doomed, Future's End.
Right.
Like she was placed within those. Those were like kind of written into her story, but other than that, there were. She just had a bunch of like random type adventures, and like you said, she never got a secret identity. She never got a life. It was kind of just like you said, beating her down over and over and over again without giving her a chance to recover and be a character without all of this
Plugged into the universe, and I think we're seeing that kind of more in the past 2 versions. Like there was times in the past version, the pre-New 52 version, where it was like she was a character and then she had it good and then nothing. And then I don't know. I just feel like this was a moment where they really just kind of let the character down.
Right. At least currently she's got some connections to the super family and she's got some characters that cross over.
What's interesting about the current run, and we're reading it and I'm enjoying it, is when you go back, it's like she was super woman-esque, when we had these big moments with the big super family. And then they like gave her her own book and made her back to being a teenager. It's like she elevated to being a young adult, when she had the jacket and everything, and she was more coming into her, and now they pulled her back to being a little bit more of a teenager. It's like they can't have her grow up too much, but they can have her grow up some. And it's just interesting.
Right. I mean, with at least with the new stuff, she's kind of like the leader, the mentor of the people around her.
I'm really looking forward to when we jump into Rebirth, because I didn't read a whole lot of Supergirl Rebirth. So, and that'll be, Supergirl Rebirth will be coming up in June. We will, I think, hold on. No. I'm wrong. Rebirth won't be till July, because June will be when we finally tackle Woman of Tomorrow. So, yay us. But yeah, that's our episode for today. We got plenty of Kara Zor-El to keep talking about for the rest of this year, the year of Supergirl. It's going to be great. James, thanks for being awesome.
Oh, thank you, Tyler.
And remember, dear listeners, James is awesome. If you ever need help, just shine a red signal into the sky. He'll come.
Everything is awesome.
Look up in the sky!
Thank you for checking out the Krypton Report. Please click our link tree in the show notes to follow us on your favorite social media platform. We have a $1 Patreon, just $1 a month to keep us going. And in return, you get exclusive shows and specials. If you want to join us on an episode, send us an email or a message.
Hi, this is David Patrick Wilson. I played Superman, Clark Kent, in the television production of It's a Bird, It's a Plane. Enjoying every minute of being right here on the Krypton Report.